Hello and welcome to Psych Boost. In this research methods video, we'll be looking at primary and secondary data and meta-analysis. So we'll define those terms and we'll evaluate them. So let's go on with this research methods video. So this will be quite a short video. The terms are relatively simple to understand and the evaluations are reflections of each other. Primary data. The researcher themselves will take the responsibility to generate the data. They do this first-hand. So that's one thing to say about primary data. Another important thing to say about primary data is they collect this data in order to answer a very particular research question. So the data is focused on the demands of the hypothesis. And common ways to collect primary data is through the interview, observation, questionnaires, or experiments. Now, a downside, of course, to going out into the real world and collecting all your data. A downside of going out into the world and collecting your own data is there's much more investment in cost and time than if the data is already there for you to analyse. But when we come on to secondary data, one advantage that primary data does have is it might be more valid because its collection is shaped to the demands of the research question. You have a question, you got to collect data which explicitly answers that question. So what is secondary data? Secondary data is when the researcher uses data that's been collected by others originally to answer other research questions. So that's two things I'm saying about secondary data. Data collected by others, so it's second-hand information. And it was originally collected to answer a different research question. And common examples of this is content analysis, government reports, and statistics. And we would suggest a weakness of secondary data is it might be less valid. It was collected for different reasons than what the researcher wants to find out. But one significant advantage is the data is much more easily collected from these external sources. Quite often they're given away for free on websites and you just have to pick them up. Let's also mention a technique called a meta-analysis. A meta-analysis uses secondary data in a statistical technique. So data is gathered from a range of different studies, all on broadly the same topic. Then all this data is combined to see an overall effect. Now, because so many studies are included in one calculation, you have a large N, a large number of participants. That means you're testing a large population. And individual studies that might not be so strong don't matter as much in the overall calculation. So we've got a statistically powerful technique, this meta-analysis. A downside though of meta-analysis is studies always vary. There might not be a match necessarily in the methods that each of these studies took to get their data, or the research aims might be slightly different. So going about combining them all might not actually be appropriate. And we might criticise the validity of some meta-analysis on the basis of this. I really hope you found this video useful in studying psychology. 3 things help this channel grow a lot: likes, comments and subscriptions. Thank you so much if you've done any of those things for this video.